What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bradenton, Florida. What we are about to do tonight is something that maybe a few months ago would be too unsafe to do. We're outside of the Salvation Army in Bradenton, Florida. Don't get me wrong, this is still a dangerous neighborhood, but it's got a lot safer. The Bradenton Police Department has been working to clean this area up right here. This is the type of neighborhood that you literally couldn't walk through. People are actually able to sleep a little bit quieter and safer. But if you guys remember, maybe I'm gonna say 6 months to a year ago, you know, when you get out here, it would be so wild. This place would be bucking, but it's really cleaned up a lot. It's a lot safer now. You can see people are actually able to sleep now. Don't get me wrong, this is still a really dangerous place to be this late at night. It's about 1 in the morning. It's quiet, and I'm able to walk around. 6 months to a year ago, right here just slumped over on the ground. I don't know if I can see him, but there's one person here. There's three people right here. But it's quiet, and people are able to sleep. About a year ago, if you got off right here, you couldn't walk through here. It would just be people screaming, fighting. It was buck wild. And I actually parked my vehicle behind the Salvation Army. Not gonna lie, there's always a possibility that somebody could smash my window just for parking there, but it's a little risky, but I hope we're okay. But that is definitely a possibility. Now, they have 2 police cars here, and there's actually nobody in the police cars right now, but just the fact that they're there. I think the Bradenton Police Department has done a really good job in making Bradenton feel a little bit safer. It's necessary. They got 2 police cars over here. Hey, buddy, it's quiet. Huh? It's been quiet around here lately.
Yes. Yes.
Is it the police that's just making it better?
Yes.
I remember you couldn't get out and walk around this neighborhood.
Yes.
Maybe a year ago, 6 months ago.
Yeah. There was a new law that was enacted on the 1st of October.
Yes.
So they took a lot of them up to Tent City.
Where's that at?
The Port of Tampa.
Oh, there's a place in Tampa they're taking them to.
Yeah. Tents all over. So
the people that were here are in Tampa now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in Tampa.
But they're inside their own tent.
Okay. Because I parked my truck on the outside in the back just to walk around.
Yeah.
I'm just doing a documentary on how much improvement there's been here.
Okay.
The people are able to sleep safe now. Before, it was a very scary environment.
Yeah. They were safe, but not necessarily from each other.
Yes.
There have been some big fights.
But I've been here. It's very scary.
Really?
Yeah, I've been here at night, and it's been very scary. Not from I would just bring food.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one day I brought food, and they fought over the food.
Yes.
It was like a brawl.
Yeah.
Over the food.
I remember your face.
Yeah, I've been here before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I come through here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like it's a lot safer now, is it?
It is. It is.
I guess they're leaving the elderly people, the old people in peace, and just the bad ones are going over there?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know where the tent city is? Is it in downtown?
It's all I know is it's at the Port of Tampa.
All right, guys. So as you can see, it's much safer than before. You can actually walk around here now, which you couldn't do this before. Before, getting out and walking in this neighborhood at 1 in the morning like this would just have been, it would have been a problem, really. But the new law really has made homelessness even safer. For the people that are still out here, it's even safer for them. The guy that was on the ground got up. But not only has the new law... Hello. How are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm all right. It's so much quieter here now.
Yeah. I'm the homeless are gone.
Yeah.
It's dead or
Yeah.
prison.
But now you can sleep in peace.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm out here. I normally...
Your first time here?
No, well, me and my ass broke up.
Okay.
Swimming, so I came here.
Yeah.
Safety and
Yeah. More.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel safe. You can't hurt me here, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than this used to be a very scary place. This is your first time here?
Oh no, no. I've lived on the streets here for 5 years. I know this place very well.
5 years you've been on the streets?
Yeah, here in Bradenton.
In Bradenton. What's your name? I haven't met you yet.
Trisha.
Trisha. Okay. I'm the guy. I interview people. I don't know if you ever go on YouTube,
Okay.
but I go on YouTube and I kind of interview people that are out here. That's what I do.
Okay. What's your name?
Jose.
Jose. Okay.
You might have heard about me. I'm the guy that goes around interviewing people. But it's so much quieter here than it used to be. I mean, this used to be a really scary spot.
Did you say you know restaurant?
Hmm?
You say you know restaurant?
I'm not sure.
Oh my god.
But it's a lot quieter.
Yeah, it is a lot quieter.
Yeah. I think you'll be here safe now.
Oh yeah, I know right about it.
All right. Maybe some other day I'll catch up with you.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Hello. But it's so quiet and peaceful now compared to before. Mm. It actually legitly feels safe to be here. It's crazy. It feels calm. It's wild. It literally actually feels safe to be here. It's crazy. Because this is the type of place where, like, late at night, it would be terrifying to be out here. I gotta find a place where I can use the bathroom. I know there's a place out here where I can go, but literally, I left my truck here. I don't think nobody broke into my truck. And that's in itself is kind of crazy. There used to be dealers posted up here all the time. It's really got better. The streets of Bradenton, Florida have become noticeably safer with the new implementation of homeless laws. Now, they haven't gotten every single homeless person off the streets. A lot of the elderly and infirmed, the homeless people who are less detrimental to society, are still sleeping on the streets, but many of the troublemakers have literally disappeared, which means that those who are homeless in Bradenton, Florida, and elderly are able to sleep on the streets and not have to worry about being robbed like they were before. If you've been watching my videos, you'd be aware of the fact that the streets of Bradenton, Florida at night are like a zombie apocalypse, but in the last few months it's been getting quieter. And it seems like the people who are homeless on the streets now can actually get a little bit of peace, quiet, and sleep at night and not have to stay up the whole entire night worried about their safety because there's so much crime and lawlessness going around. We went to the Salvation Army, a place where in the past, getting outside at night would have been a completely dangerous situation, especially at 1 in the morning. You guys may remember that there would be fights, groups of people, dealers, every sort of criminal activity outside of the Salvation Army. But now when you go to the Salvation Army, you just see people outside sleeping. Occasionally somebody with a little bit of insomnia walking around, but the environment feels cleaner and safer for those people who have to sleep on the streets. A situation that several months ago would have been completely different. There was people dealing, fighting, screaming all night long. To now see these people be able to go to sleep early at night and really get a full night's rest. Previously, the homeless people living on the streets were living a complete nightmare. They were at the complete mercy of dealers and criminals who kept them up the entire night with fights, antics, and all types of crazy behavior. Today, when you walk outside these homeless shelters, yes, there are still people sleeping outside, but they're actually sleeping and they don't have to worry about hordes of robbers or criminals coming and taking over the spot. I spoke to somebody on the ground who would know a little bit more about the situation than me, and what they told me is that there's a place in Tampa called Tent City, and a lot of the people that were homeless here in Bradenton have been shipped over into the Tent City. Now, this we'll talk about later on we'll have to make a video on this topic. Literally, is it humane or is it inhumane what they're doing by taking these people there? That will have to be another video for another topic. We would have to research that first. If what the state of Florida is doing is providing a lot of resources in one place, and there's an abundance of resources available there at this tent city in Tampa, then we could say it's humane. But if they just dumped a bunch of homeless people into a commercial district, which is what I suspect is really going on here, leaving them in an urban setting with very little places they can go, and that's not really ethical. It's inhumane. But that will be another video for another day. But what we're hearing is that a lot of the homeless people that were on the streets of Bradenton causing trouble are now forced into going into Tampa, into this tent city of homelessness. For now, the streets of Bradenton are a lot quieter, and the people who are actually homeless, not because they want to be on the streets thugging, but because of their health, their age, or some other type of situation like that, are going to be able to sleep a lot safer and quieter on the streets of Bradenton, knowing that the madness of the absolute worst homeless people is no longer visible on the streets of Bradenton. And the same thing can be said for the city of Fort Myers. We were recently there and noticed that the homeless population is literally gone. There's now 2 police cars parked in front of the Salvation Army. I thought there was somebody inside watching, but the cars are actually empty. But just the fact that they're there is kind of a reminder to a lot of people that this needs to stop, that the dealing and the abuse of the people who are homeless, taking advantage of these areas as places to create trouble for the people that are just trying to sleep somewhere safe, has to come to an end. So there's individuals who've been antagonizing the homeless population, stealing from the homeless people, abusing the homeless people, robbing them at night, and these individuals make life an absolute living nightmare for the people who are on the streets. And what I've noticed is that yes, there are still a lot of people on the streets, but they're the type of homeless people you would actually want to help. The elderly, the infirm, the mentally ill, individuals whose state of homelessness is understandable by their condition. But the ones that are really causing a lot of trouble, these homeless people seem to literally be disappearing from the state of Florida because of the new laws. Sure, there are still a lot of these vagrant homeless people, but the outright nighttime thugging, dumpster diving type homeless people that are out there just causing havoc the whole night, a lot of those people are starting to disappear. But I did talk to an expert on this topic, and they're telling me that many times the homeless people actually return to Florida. Many times when the homeless get on a bus, disappear, go to another state, it doesn't work out for them, and they come right back to the streets of Florida. And it is possible that many of the homeless people that are leaving now may do exactly that. And this isn't an opinion. This is literally somebody who does this is telling me. We see these people leave, and then they come back. The lifestyles of street thugging that they fell in love with on the streets of Florida simply don't exist to the same level in other states. They find life boring, unattractive, and they want to come back to live on the streets of Florida where they can keep the trio doll. So what happened before is you'd had like 2-3 elderly people that were on a street corner just being there together. And then these bad homeless people and thugs would come and they would hang out with them. And now these elderly infirm people that are on the streets are now basically being held captive by a bunch of street thugs that are there with the homeless people, pretending to be homeless, or maybe they are homeless. But at the end of the day, these elderly people that were on the streets of Florida had to be literally captive by these groups of thugs that were up there all night. So it's just so you understand, these people that were out there thugging would literally grab the elderly people that were homeless and kind of be around them all the time, take advantage of them. And these people were on the streets and vulnerable. So imagine, here's your grandma, loses everything, ends up on the street, can't afford to pay rent, has a disability check. Now she's on the streets of Bradenton homeless. And here come a bunch of thugs and start to hang around her, exploit her, take her money, take her food. And they're literally, what are these elderly people going to do when they're literally being held captive by these thug personalities? Literally, for me to interview some of these elderly homeless people that are on the streets, I used to have to break off some thugs that were on the corner to make sure that I could do it, because these homeless people were literally like a piece of property to these thugs. So Now the thugs are gone and these people can have a little bit of peace while they're out there on the streets. They're less likely to be victimized. They're going to continue being victimized because they're vulnerable, but it isn't to the same level. It isn't to the same degree. And it's very important that these people that are actually legitimately homeless don't have to be victimized by hordes of criminals. On this particular evening, I actually saw people outside at night with their cell phones. You wouldn't do that in Bradenton before. If you were out there at night, you had a cell phone, you wouldn't be on your cell phone at night because somebody would see that you had a cell phone and try to steal it from you. That's how bad things were in Bradenton, that literally you wouldn't even see people outside on their cell phones. I also suspect that a lot of the people walking around now are actually undercover police officers trying to kind of get a scope on the area to make sure that they don't work their way back in. So I think there's a lot of undercover police officers working Bradenton now just on a street level. So if the implementation of this new law gets all of these bad homeless people off the streets, so the people that are legitimately homeless are able to have a little bit of peace and tranquility, and they're actually able to kind of not be captivated by these people who are out there all night long kind of taking advantage of these people, then that's a great thing. Now the people that are elderly and homeless, they can have a little bit of peace and tranquility because the people that were antagonizing them are going to be gone. And if this is the way this law is going to be implemented, where they say, okay, these are the good homeless people, these are the ones that don't have an option, they're elderly, they got cancer, this and that, we're not going to bother those type of homeless people, but the ones that are causing trouble, you have to go, then that's great. Because at the end of the day, we care about the homeless people who are elderly, infirmed, people who have a condition like mental disorders. But the ones that are out here thugging the whole night and contributing to crime and making life unsafe for the homeless and for us in society as well, we don't want these people on the streets. And there's a lot of people out here that are just absolute piece of crap homeless people. We're talking about homeless people that are just literally committed to the streets and crime and nothing but that. Now, a lot of people are addicted. But just because you're addicted doesn't mean you're a complete detriment to society. We're talking like what we call the junkies. These are the people that are just out there non-stop thugging. All they do is contribute to making the world a worse place. Most of the women that are on the streets are getting hurt. Okay, almost every single woman that I've met out there has told me that at some time or another, they've been victimized. These are individuals who are out there being a complete detriment to society. And it's understandable that we have to get rid of these people. You can't just let these people prey on the homeless, prey on the elderly, prey on the weak. I mean, these are the weakest people in our society. They're old, they're sick, they're on the streets. And then here come a bunch of thugs, go in there and literally make these people's lives a living nightmare. You have to put an end to it. And if this is a side effect of this new law that's coming into place, then good. Honestly, these people need a freaking break. Their lives are hard enough already without being taken captive by a bunch of thugs. A lot of the trap spots that were open and buzzing some time ago are also completely dead. But I'm afraid that there's a very bad effect that's going to happen from what's going on right now. In other words, we're talking about the benefits today, the improvements that we're seeing on the streets of Bradenton, but there's another bad aspect. These people are going somewhere. How is that going to work for that area? Now, I don't want to get into specific details because I really don't need to make enemies on the streets, but I'll tell you this. Flushing all these people out of general areas is forcing and concentrating these individuals into particular areas. Predominantly, housing projects in Sarasota County are getting scary. The amount of consumption and crime going up in these areas is insane. I'm going to guess in Tampa you're seeing the same effect. So we could go back to like the 90s where the housing projects is where all the crime and everything took place. They're pushing back the crime into the housing projects, basically. They're pushing all these people into one single place, kind of the way it was in the 90s. And of course, we know that that doesn't work either. What's going on now doesn't work, but in other words, there's still the potential for some aspects of this law and its implementation to backfire. And I feel that when I used to go into the projects at night in Sarasota a year or two ago, these housing projects were kind of calm, but these housing projects have got terrifyingly bad. The housing projects today in Florida and some of these inner city areas, and the neighborhoods right adjacent to where this tent city are probably going to be are going to become very scary places. Something like what you used to see back in the 90s, or kind of the Skid Row in Los Angeles, where you just pile everybody into one place. So that in itself isn't a solution, but I have noticed that in like Sarasota County, Bradenton flushed out all these criminals. They hop on over to Sarasota County. Sarasota doesn't let them be out on the streets, so back into the projects in the kind of like more secluded areas like that, it's getting wild in those places. So there are still complications that are going to come with compiling all these people into one single area. In particular, the dealers that used to focus on the homeless are now focusing on housing projects, areas where there's a lot more youth. So perpetually, this could spin out of control in another direction. Now, I'm not afraid of these people. I Uber drive at 1 in the morning in these projects. These people get in my car. When I notice what they're doing, I kick them out of my car and tell them to walk. So I'm not afraid of these individuals. I deal with them every day in the community I live in, but I don't understand the purpose of making a topic video on particular housing projects that are having this problem, places that are being completely inundated with addiction. What would be the purpose of doing that? Because then the people that live in that community are now trapped. So it used to be the homeless that are trapped by the criminals. Now it seems like the people in the projects are the ones that are being trapped by the criminals. So it's a perpetually never-ending cycle of, if we can't victimize these people, then we'll victimize these. In other words, these people are a detriment to society everywhere they go. And no matter where you put them, they're gonna be a problem. For now, the streets of Bradenton feel a lot safer. A lot of the homelessness and madness associated with homelessness is starting to be seen less often on the streets of Bradenton. But if these elements are still out there, you believe that wherever these people end up, they're going to be a problem for the next community. Bradenton is a beautiful city with a lot of potential, beautiful beaches, great weather, and great people. The love and support that I have got here in Bradenton for my YouTube channel has been incredible. I get recognized on a daily basis, and it's always love. Every once in a while, somebody screams at me in traffic, but when I meet people in person, 98% of the people that I meet recognize me, absolutely are happy to see me. So this city's been great to me. It's a beautiful city, but the crime and lawlessness here is just on another level. And, the homicide rate has gotten so high that Bradenton is going to become more dangerous than, let's say, Jacksonville. Who wants to be more dangerous than Jacksonville? I mean, the city of Jacksonville is a city that I love, and I would never move there because of how dangerous it is. So something has to be done about the violence and crime in Bradenton. The homicides had spiked out of control. Things were really spiraling out of control. And another problem is that perhaps they're going to try to use these crime analytics of we did something great to kind of politicize the information. I think we're going to see with the homeless population in the future that the information is being manipulated or politicized. And I think in the future, we're going to see this happen. And as you guys know, the state of Florida usually has an effect nationally. It's a very influential state in its laws and policies. I'm going to give you an example of some of the things that these individuals will do. They put all the homeless people in Tampa now. The crime rates skyrocket through the roof, and the arrests in Tampa skyrocket through the roof, right? Well, now what they're going to do is 6 months from now, when they finally put a handle on it, they're like, well, we reduced crime in Tampa by 80%. These homeless people were really running our city wild, but now things are great because we did our job. Well, you manipulated the information. You controlled the situation to manipulate the analytics. In other words, we could see law enforcement in Bradenton a year from now saying we did a great job, or in Fort Myers, well, we got rid of all the homeless people. But, they manipulate the information. So a lot of times they want to give themselves credit where it isn't due. They want to manipulate the information. So sometimes even when things are good for communities, like this situation here, we have to see what type of spin they're going to put on the story, because that's usually what the spokespeople do. It's an embarrassment that it got to this point. It's embarrassing that the overdose rates in Florida got so high. It's embarrassing that the homeless population got so high. It's an embarrassment that the homicide rates, like in cities like Bradenton, have increased dramatically. All this is an embarrassment because they weren't doing a good job. So now when there's an improvement, they're like, well, we handled everything. Like, no, you let it get out of control And then finally, you had to do something about it. So there's nothing to brag about here. And the state of Florida's overdose rate is now among the top 10 worst states. That's not good. You know, they've been criticizing states like California, even though the homicide rates here are higher. The overdose death rates in Florida are 1.4 times higher than the state of California. Things here really haven't been going great in Florida. Florida has become dangerous, violent, and now with laws like this, we have to see if it's being done humanely, if it's being done correctly. Now, I understand making the streets safer, but is there a long-term solution to these people? Because my experience in the state of Florida is that these people just adapt and convert into another type of detrimental activity, because there are people that are always looking to cause harm to society, take advantage of others. It's like they have a complete institutionalized mentality that they carry on into the streets, and they start to victimize people, usually the most vulnerable. They don't go and victimize the rich people in the suburbs that are armed to the teeth and have money and lawyers and cops to protect them. That's too hard of a, they have to go after an elderly homeless lady on the streets who's living off an SSI. Those are the types of people that they victimize, because at the end of the day, they are weak people who prey on the weakest people in society. And unfortunately, I suspect that these people are going to continue to do harm to society somewhere else. So we have to see how all this transgresses. A real boss on the streets is somebody like me who helps those people, who stands up against the police officers when they're unjustly treating the people that don't deserve to be treated that way. That is a real boss. But these people, they're not real bosses. They're snakes and rats that prey on the weakest people in society and exploit them because they don't have enough guts to face the people who really put up a fight. I mean, I just interviewed a homeless person who talked about his experiences in prison. They go after the dudes that are more sentimental and more Rambo, and the people that are elderly in prison. So that's the thing now in prisons. If you go to prison, they go after the weakest people, the men that are more feminine and the people that are more elderly. So those are the people who in prison they prey on. In other words, these are individuals who have been institutionalized to prey on the weakest people in society. Do they go up in there and try to fight with the biggest dealers and the biggest bosses? No, they lower their heads and walk with their tail between their legs when they go past those people. And that's really the situation with these individuals. It's that they're grabbing an institutionalized mindset from the prisons and bringing it out into the streets. Do they go after the real bosses and the big bad people out here? No, they don't. They go after an old lady living off her SSI check. These are people that, again, practice defiled behavior of preying on the weakest people in society. And that's how these people get down. Do they mess with somebody who's got a little bit more stature? No, they don't. They're scared of people like that. Again, weak individuals who are practicing the absolute most pathetic way of crime, which is to prey on the weakest people in society. And they do it in numbers so that there's not any chance that they can be hurt. It's cowardly behavior. It's not manly behavior. These people are cowards. These people are literally taking advantage of the weakest people they could find, the most vulnerable people in society. And many times, for a long time, that has been homeless people, elderly homeless people who end up on the streets, and then they get preyed on by these individuals. It's a horrendous thing that's been happening in Florida. We got people here in Bradenton that use kids to panhandle. We got people here in Bradenton that pretend like they're on a wheelchair. They pretend like they're disabled so they can panhandle. In other words, the generosity of most people would lead them to help somebody who's homeless in a wheelchair. We all want to help people like that. But there are so many people out here pretending like they're in a wheelchair, pretending like they have a problem, pretending like they need help so that they can do the most disgusting thing that there is in society. That is to leech off other people to feed your own addiction, because you're not even able to take care of your own addiction. So you want to take care of your addiction by having other people in society pay for your substances. These are individuals who are out there giving homeless people a bad name. The reason we don't help the homeless people is because we're afraid that this guy's not really in a wheelchair. And a lot of times they're not. I know a lot of people here in Bradenton, Florida, who are persistently panhandling in a spot, pretending like they're physically disformed or disabled, and they're not. They're hustlers, thugs, lazy piece of crap people who exploit the situation of the homeless so that they can feed their habit. And these are the types of individuals that lead most of us to society to decide we're not going to help the homeless, not because we're not kind, but because we don't want to enable their habits. These people are making life harder for the people that are actually homeless by their disgusting behaviors and habits.